Have you heard people say things like how the past everything was so much better? Like marriages were stronger, appliances were more sturdy and durable, clothes were just, clothes could last forever. And
We have already established the world is getting better. Now you're saying the past was better. Now I'm confused because what you're saying also makes sense because the songs were better, the movies were better, the food was better. In fact, even if you had a problem because of food or whatever, the doctors were also better. They were nicer, they were more knowledgeable.
and also teachers were more knowledgeable
Yeah.
and more passionate.
Yeah.
And
My teachers were lovely. I
travel was so much better and we lived closer to nature.
Yeah, what are we doing, Naveen?
It is all false. Okay, the past sucked, living closer to nature sucks. And let's take a look at why. Everything in the list that we talked about was not actually better. Okay,
Wow, okay, marriages were better.
we will come to that later. It's a more complex issue, but let's take the simpler ones first. Okay,
Okay.
appliances were more sturdy,
They were.
durable.
They were.
Clothes used to last forever.
They did.
Right? People say this, right? And there have been studies. Somebody went and did a study of clothes in those days versus clothes now, which last longer. And you are right. Clothes in those days used to last a little longer.
A little.
Little. Okay, not a whole lot. But there is a reason.
Okay.
Only poor people want to wear the same thing for such a long time. Okay? Once you have money, you want to change. You get bored of it after a little while. Okay?
Okay.
So the industry creates things which can be changed faster and is cheaper as a result.
Okay.
Because that's what people want. Okay? Even now, things that last a very long time, they do exist. They cost much more. Nobody buys them. Right? Because nobody wants a thing that lasts longer except when they are, whining and complaining on Twitter. Okay? So,
Okay, fine. So
other thing, appliances, they lasted longer.
they
right?
did, Naveen.
Yes,
My
because
childhood fridge.
you used to repair the same thing over and over again, and it would be like dhakka marke chalu, and it was just, the problem there was not that the appliance was much better. Okay, it was worse, but the thing is that repairing was cheaper because repairmen were cheaper because everybody was poor in those days. Okay, today you can't afford to pay for the repairs because that person can go and earn much more somewhere else. Okay, it's called Baumol's cost disease. Look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually have to do a episode on Baumol's cause disease. But you know what? We bought a fridge for an amount that was actually quite expensive back in the day, and it lasted us about 15 years. And the next fridge we bought, we had to change in 3, 5, whatever number of years. Definitely not 15.
Yeah. First of all, just let's do a calculation, right? That in 1985, entry-level color TV cost 8,000 rupees.
Because it was quite new at the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
An average Indian in those days would have to work 2.5 years to make that much money. Okay?
Yeah, 8,000 was a lot of money.
Today, a 4K LED TV, which is like way better, costs 30,000. An average Indian can make this in 2 months.
Oh, okay.
Right? So things are much, much, much cheaper. I mean, if you're willing to pay that much, you can actually buy 10 TVs and those will last longer than your TV that, just lasted so much, but you have to keep repairing it over and over. You remember the repairs?
I do remember the repairs.
Yes,
I've gone to get some of those repairs done. I've gone to get the TV repairman.
There is also one more thing there, which is that if you make a TV which can be repaired, it will cost that much, right? The reason TVs are so cheap these days is because of integrated circuits and things like that which can't be repaired, right? So there is a trade-off and we want this. You make a TV which lasts a very long time and can be repaired and all that, nobody will buy it.
Because it'll be that expensive.
Yeah.
And that difficult to... Because they'll also have to keep making spare parts, OEM parts for that, and all of that comes into picture.
Everything becomes more expensive.
Fair enough. Appliances, things that we use, understood.
Yeah.
But music was definitely better. Movies were definitely better. This I can definitely tell you.
Yes. There is an episode we have done on this. It is called Survivor Bias. Okay. You remember all the good stuff and you have forgotten the really bad stuff that happened. Okay, I mean, you take a look at Jitendra movies of those days. I mean,
The
some of them
songs are
are
still
amazing.
good.
Not all of them. You don't know some of the bad ones. Okay, the other problem there is that there is nostalgia. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give you a unrelated example. When I was in college, okay, the mess food was really bad, and in campus there was nothing else. There was one Chinese shop, Chinese food place, where you could buy veg fried rice for 7 rupees, chicken fried rice for 9 rupees. And for us, because the mess food was so bad, because of compared to what, that was like the best food ever, right? So even like 10 years later, if we went back, we would go and eat there, okay, because it was the best food ever. And once I took my brother there, and he was aghast. It was like, this is terrible food. Why did you bring me here? The food was bad, but I thought it was awesome because of nostalgia, because of the emotions associated with it, right? So a lot of the movies and songs from your childhood you love because of the nostalgia, right? People my age here, some of you I'm sure would have tried showing some of your favorite movies or songs to your kids, and they hated it. Okay.
Listen, every generation has different tastes.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wish to put this on record. DP, Sherry's and Money's, all three had great food.
Yes.
I will stand by it, even if my kid doesn't like it, even if my kids don't like
There
it.
is one more reason why things in those days were like, so good.
Huh.
Because making anything, right? Making a movie, making a song was so expensive that only people who were really, really good got a chance to do it, right? I
Right.
mean, the people who were funding it, if it costs 100 times more or 1,000 times more, they're not just going to fund anybody, right?
Correct.
So, on an average, only much higher quality stuff got made. But the big downside of that was that there was this entire industry of gatekeepers who would just not fund it if there was any chance that it is not, proven or something like that.
I only have an opposition on the fact that they were more expensive back in the day, because right now the kind of budgets that go into movies are much higher. But go on.
How much is a budget that goes into a reel that you upload?
That's
Okay?
exactly what I was coming to. That now a lot of different kinds of movies are getting produced, which is no longer the gate-kept kind of movies that you're
Exactly.
talking about.
Right.
But
So,
yes,
there is democratization. What that means is that much, 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 much more crap gets produced. But that also means that some amazing things do get created, which would never ever have gotten a chance in those days, right? Plus, 30 years from now, when you have forgotten all the crap and only remember the gems, I'm sure the gems of this age will be better than the gems from earlier.
yeah, the signal to noise ratio is high, and also the quantity of the
Yeah.
entire signal with the noise is also quite high.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I sense that I am fighting a losing battle here, but I'll still battle on. And I will bring up the food example that you said.
Yes.
Food was definitely better. Do
Yes,
not.
of course.
Otherwise, your parents and my parents and everybody who fed us is going to come at our throats. The food was better.
Yes, for the people who got food. There were people who didn't get food, lots of them, and they would die. Okay? And if you look at the graphs for undernutrition, for starvation, all those graphs are falling like this, right? What it means is that in those days, food was better, but it was also expensive.
Yeah.
Not compared to today, but compared to what people in those days could afford.
Right.
And as a result, I mean, this is a common theme that you will see, that something is high quality because we didn't know how to create lower quality, cheaper stuff which everyone else can afford, right? Now, again, there is survivor bias here because our parents were the kinds who managed to afford it and do well in life. That is why here we are sitting and talking about how good our life was, when a much, much larger fraction of people, it sucked objectively.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a reality check on my privilege all these years.
And the good food that you're talking about, the food from those days, that kind of food, it is still available. Okay? It's called organic food. It costs much more. And even you don't buy it, Shrikant. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't buy organic food. I do agree. I'm not a psychopath. And if you want to know why, just go through our channel and look for that specific thing I'm talking about. Anyway, so fair food, good food is still available, expensive because organic, whatnot. But then I'm thinking of doctors now, because the doctors I had were very kind, very considerate, very knowledgeable. They knew.
Same as the food, right? You had doctors because you were well off, right? Most people didn't have doctors. They were forced to either use like random jadi booty that their grandmother's sister told them, or go to some baba who will give them again some powder, and ultimately they would just die. Okay, life expectancy in India was 32 around independence. It is 72 now. So don't tell me doctors in those days were better. Okay, what has happened? Child mortality used to be 50% 100 years ago, which means half the children died. It went down to 25% around the time when I was born, and now it is 4%, right? 96% of the children are living because of these doctors who are not knowledgeable and who are not nice and who are like so commercial and only interested in money. They are keeping you far more alive and far more healthy than the doctors used to do in those days. Okay, so take your pick.
Part of that is also advancements in medical knowledge that have happened over time. So
Yes.
I would want to make that absolutely clear.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, probably subjective, but I do feel that doctors back in the day had a little more time to spend with the patients. Maybe because, you said, there weren't enough patients that could have access to their services.
Yes.
That's possible.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there is a loss of kindness happening in the doctor-patient relationship on both ends. The patients are also not kind towards the doctors. The doctors are also probably trying to get to as many patients as they can.
Very simple. The average doctor then used to see much fewer patients, which is why she had time to sit with you and make you feel good about yourself. Today, the doctor sees far more patients, has less time to make you feel good about yourself, and has more time to give you the medicine which will actually keep you healthy, right?
Yeah.
So this is still better.
And then there is that entire conversation to be had about the medical insurance industry and how that plays a role into all of that, etc., etc. But now, you know what? I think I have an example that will close this conversation, or at least bring it to a point, which is teachers.
Yes.
Teachers back in the day were definitely more dedicated.
Yes.
And I say that because I do teach some students in some college that I go to, where I do have that passion, and that passion is also because I had passionate teachers like that.
Were any of them rich, your teachers?
I don't think so. They were typical.
And they were not doing it for the money. Yeah. Well, the problem is that the good people could be teachers in those days because there was nothing else for them to do.
What do you mean?
Employment options were so low that, anyway, you're not getting money here or you're not getting money there, might as well become a teacher and do something that actually is a nice, good thing, right? Whereas as soon as you create an industry here which pays 10 times more, even the good people are going to there. So they are all going into now software and IT and so on.
Yeah.
It's called, again, Baumol's cost disease, because they're now working in finance, the good people.
And
because we have let the difference between pay of the teachers now versus the finance people now is so vast that it's like really difficult for a smart person to justify being here.
We really need to do an episode on Baumol's cost disease, especially because this point about the teachers you mentioned is absolutely valid. The kind of money teachers are paid these days
is really bad. Yeah,
is abysmal.
Also there is a survivor's bias here, because you remember great teachers because you had good teachers. That's why you're sitting here. The people who did not have good teachers are not on Twitter, and they're not watching YouTube, at least not watching this kind of channels. So, yeah.
I am getting so much of a reality check on my privilege right now, but it's a good reality check. And I do recognize this privilege. But at the same time, there is also a bit of nostalgia playing there and whatnot. But I do want to be a good teacher. Pay me money.
Yeah.
What else? What else? You spoke about travel. You spoke
Yeah.
about travel. Travel back then was so much more fun. I mean, I remember going in
Yes.
railways and watching out of the window
Yeah.
and the middle berth and the upper berth and the side berths. It
Yes.
was so much more fun, Naveen. It was so much more. It was so much
Yeah,
better.
because most people couldn't afford railways. Okay, it was very cheap, but even then they couldn't afford it, right? So in 1950,
Hmm.
railways made 1.3 billion trips.
Hmm.
People made 1.3 billion trips against a population of 361 million, right?
Hmm.
So that is 3.6 trips per person.
Hmm.
Today, our population is like 4 times more, and still railways have 8.4 billion trips. So even though the population has become 4x, the number of trips per person has doubled. Okay, which means that our railways is able to serve many more people, 8x the number of people it is able to serve, right? So in return, if the travel has become a little more of a hassle, I think it is completely okay, right? The past was great for people who could afford it, but that's only like 12%. Okay.
That's actually a great line. The past was good for people who could afford it.
Yeah.
And we are the people who could afford it, which is
Yeah.
why we are speaking from a very privilege colored lens here.
Yeah.
I do agree. What else? Jobs,
Yes.
careers. I mean, people back then had a very clear career path. Right now, you don't know what to do. Right now, there is no assurance or even possibility of a job happening to you after finishing education.
Yeah, right. I mean, so you're talking about the fact that people joined a company and then they worked for that company their entire life, maybe change one job, right?
Kind
And
of. Well,
they
it's not so
treated
much
you
about.
well. They treated you well.
Yeah,
They
they
treated
did.
you like family. Yeah, they didn't pay you. Okay, a 30-year-old today is 3 to 4 times richer than their parents. Okay, and by richer, I mean richer in terms of the things they can buy.
Yeah.
Okay, not I mean, in terms of actual just rupees, they're god knows how many times richer, right? They are 5 to 8 times richer than their grandparents. Okay, now in return for that, if you have some uncertainty in your career, that's fine. I mean, you can get a career that you can be in the same career for your entire life and they'll treat you like family. You'll have to take 1/10 the money. Are you willing to do that?
Listen, at the stage that.
Also coming back to your privilege, right? At that time, okay, in 1991, 63% of the people were in agriculture. Before that, at some point it was 75%. Before that, it was 90%. Today, it's closer to 43%. Okay, so yeah, you're talking about people who worked for a company all their life. Most people were not that people. Most people were working in the fields. Okay,
Fair.
those people are not complaining that in the past things were so much better.
Fair. I hear where you're coming from. And I also understand that a lot of it also has to do with the fact that the market opened up and a
Yeah.
lot of opportunities opened up, a lot of money came flowing in, purchasing power increased, which is why
Yeah.
objectively in terms of pure money numbers, people right now at 30 are far richer and also have greater purchasing power than what their parents and grandparents used to
Yeah.
have. So I get where you're coming from. And I understand why you say that the past sucked. And I understand why the present is much better. But why does everything in the present feel worse than back then, even though things have gotten better?
Yeah, well, we just recently did an episode on this, on a concept called the Tocqueville effect, right?
Yeah.
That our brain is weird. Okay, when things are very bad, we just give up and we don't complain about anything. But as soon as things start getting better, then of the remaining small number of things that are not so good, we complain more. Okay, so the basic effect, the Tocqueville effect, is that because things are so much better now, that's why we complain more and we think things are worse, right? Take a look at the whole episode, but
Yeah.
that's the idea.
essentially, the closer we get to perfection, the more disappointed we are that we don't reach there.
Absolutely,
And the
yes.
last mile always takes the
Yes.
most time. It's the hardest.
Yeah.
The last mile is the hardest.
Yeah.
Then there is also that bit of nostalgia that plays
Right.
in our minds and all
Yeah.
of that. So then, is everything better now? Are we really living the best life we can?
No, there were some things that were really better in those days, right? So there are some things today which are objectively worse. Pollution is definitely worse,
Yes.
and it is bad for you. We've done an episode on that, right? Community connect is much worse, right?
Yeah.
The US has exported the individual culture all over the world, and families are much more nuclear and individual level. Everything is like me, and that is probably objectively worse for most people. Some people might be better off, but it's worse for most people.
Yeah.
Polarization is worse,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we are angrier at each other and fighting with each other, and on religion, on ideology, on race. It's just things are worse.
Definitely.
Another surprising and interesting thing is that children are no longer free. Okay, I mean, growing up, we got out of the house. There were no cell phones, no nothing.
Yeah.
Parents had no clue where we are until we showed up back home 3 hours later, right?
Yeah.
And on Saturday and Sunday, we would leave home and just disappear for the entire day. And we crossed roads, we went like kilometers away, we walked to school.
Yeah.
None of this is possible in the cities today, right? Like everything is, you can't go beyond outside your society's gate, and you can't cross roads by yourself, and anywhere you go you need a vehicle. And it's just, I think life is a little worse in some ways for children.
This I completely agree.
Yeah.
And to some extent, I also understand the parents who are like, but we can't really let our children out of sight
Yeah,
because
it's not the parents' fault.
Hmm.
The world, this part of the world has gotten worse, I think.
Objectively worse.
Yeah. But the point of this episode is, okay, sure, a few things are worse, but most things are not only better, but much, much better. And all the nostalgia you feel for how good things were in the past, most of them, they were not good. Okay, the past sucked. The world is much better today. Be happy with it.
All right. You are free to absolutely help me in countering this man here by posting in the comments or joining our WhatsApp community, which we've recently started. The QR code is up on your screen, and we'll put a link in the description also. While I understand where he's coming from, while I understand that progress has made a lot of things more affordable to a larger percentage of the world population, and not just in a way that it is gatekept by the privileged. So I do understand where he's coming from, but I still think that there is some bit of the past that was better, and not just the objective ones that he's talking about. Happy to have more of a conversation on that here in the comments or on the WhatsApp community. Do join us. And if you've already joined us, thank you for joining us. We enjoy having you there. Shrikant, Naveen, FutureIQ.